Good job, Jillian. She counted us in correctly. You know, that Burlington education. Burlington, New Jersey education. Shout out, Burlington.
I'm gonna just like roast you so hard right now. Welcome back to Too Real with Mike and Jillian Rosado.
Yes.
Um, we have, even though we have showed up here every Wednesday on the podcast platforms, we have not showed up here every Wednesday for what seems like a while now.
Yeah. 3 weeks, 2 weeks,
Oh my goodness, I don't even know at
3
this point.
weeks.
3 weeks?
Yeah. Yeah.
You sure?
No,
No.
it's been a blur.
Yeah. So we've been traveling a lot lately. Um, pretty much the whole second half of January, we were gone during the week.
Yeah.
Um,
To
and
the
then-
point where one of our employees, we walked in today and they said stranger danger, which did not make me feel good at all.
But we're back, and it was interesting. So we were in Northern California for a week,
Yeah.
almost a week, which I'd never been to Northern California before. Way different than Southern California.
Yes.
Way different. And I was excited because it was right after the snowstorm that we had gotten. We got like 6 to 8 inches of snow.
Yeah, 6 to 8 inches.
Really excited to get out to that like warm California weather. And we showed up in Woodland, California.
Yeah. Right outside of Sacramento.
Very rainy, much more rural. And I was just like, this is not the California that I am used to.
Right. Unexpected.
Spoiled.
Oh, no.
But we were out there for a few days, and it was fun. We got to explore San Francisco for a few hours. We never used to build in fun to these trips. These are all work trips.
Yeah.
And sometimes in the past it's just in and out. And now that I feel like that our kids have gotten older and a lot of our work can be more mobile, we found like little half days to build in, sometimes like a day to build in to like explore a little. So we were able to check out San Francisco, which I had never been. We saw the Full House house. We drove
Full house.
the Full House house.
Yeah.
We drove the hilly San Francisco roads, which like as we were on, I'm like, oh my God, they weren't lying. Like these hills are wild. Walked down the pier, had lunch or dinner at the pier on the water. It was beautiful.
It was.
Then came home. We were home for what? 3 days?
3 days. Yeah.
3 days. And then flew back out to Las Vegas for a yearly conference / summit that we do for Peak, one of the projects we're involved in. That one, the last night we got to go out over to the Strip and have dinner and stuff like that. Vegas is a trip, man.
Yeah, it is.
You see all the things.
All the
things.
things.
We literally we went to the Cosmopolitan to have dinner at this restaurant that me and my friend Jessica had eaten at in the fall called China Poblano. And it's literally Chinese and Mexican food, but it's not fusion.
Yeah, it's either you have Chinese or you have Mexican.
Or you have both,
Or you have
but
both,
it's
yeah.
just they're all separate dishes.
Yeah.
So we're walking out of the Cosmopolitan because there was what, like 5 of us? Because a couple of them went to see U2 at the Sphere.
Yeah.
And so a couple of us were like, oh, there was a few of them that hadn't been to Vegas before. We're like, oh, let's go see the Strip. So we walk out of the Cosmopolitan, and literally the first thing I see from behind is these 2 girls in feather angel wings and G-strings.
Yeah.
And I was just like, welcome to Vegas, guys. This is what you see. The Vegas Strip is ultimately just a very large Times Square.
Yeah.
And if you're from this area and you've been to New York enough, you get really sick of Times Square and like want to avoid it. So I think after a few times in Vegas, you're just like, I'm over the Strip.
Right.
I'm over Vegas. But I also feel like I'm poisoned because I just finished the book Scarcity Brain
Yes.
by Michael Easter. And they get into the science of why you get hooked on slot machines. And I'm like, I'm never touching a slot machine again. I am not entering that loop.
That loop.
But
I had no desire because I grew up in Atlantic City, New Jersey.
yeah.
And so I grew up around gambling and literally like you could take me, it's not even a part of my occupation or religious beliefs or anything like that. Like even beyond all that, I just watched people waste their money, waste their time, waste their life on
Mm.
gambling, and I have zero desire
Yeah.
for any of it.
Yeah.
Zero.
Which, let's rewind the tape a little bit. It's funny when you question my Burlington education when, number one, you grew up in Atlantic City.
Okay.
So I'm sure the education was so much better.
School of the Hard Knocks.
Second of all, I went to Catholic school.
Oh.
And when I transferred to Mount Laurel Public Schools in seventh grade, in all the placement tests, I placed extremely high in everything. So I actually got a really good education. It's
Up until what grade?
up until geography
Oh, yeah.
and history.
Hey, everybody, ask Jill what language they speak in Brazil, and she'll tell you it's Brazilian, which is not even a flippin' language.
So we have like this ongoing joke now. My mom is horrified of me and my sister's lack of knowledge of geography and history, but personally, just not really interested in it. I was more of a math science person. So anytime I don't know something, I'm like, call my sister. She did, I think she thought Spanish. I don't know, but she was alarmed because Mike called her on a Friday night while she was out to dinner. And she answers the phone. She's like, is everything okay? He's like, yes, I have a question for you. What is the predominant language in South America? She's like, Spanish. And he's like, good, thank you. Talk to your sister. And like hung up. And I was like, come on, man. Like, give me a freaking break. It's just not my thing.
You just have to be tough, a little tough. That's
Yeah.
when you're around us.
It's the corniest transition you're ever trying to make happen.
We
right
just
now.
have to be tough. So today we want to talk about mental toughness. I am currently preaching a series on Sunday mornings called Love Hurts, learning how to love people through the tough times. We've been defining pain. But on the ride here, we were talking about a post.
I actually, outside of that post,
Somebody else's post. No.
I was inspired by a quote I read this morning. And I actually sent it to you. You probably didn't read it. I have a habit of sending Mike things before he wakes up. Like, hey, you should read this, or it's things that I find interesting. And I sent it to him because I thought it could really tie well with the sermon series that he's doing on Love Hurts. But I started this book called Hidden Potential by Adam Grant. And it's talking about character and that we're creatures of discomfort.
Yeah.
So the quote from Helen Keller says that character cannot be developed in ease and quiet. Only through experiences of trial and suffering can the soul be strengthened, vision cleared, ambition inspired, and success achieved. And I was like, damn, that's good. That's good. And I think we could even like mental toughness is a form of character.
100%.
Because your character is, there was another part of it. I shared it on my story, but like people like to say, well, that's just not who I am. And there's a difference between your personality and your character. Your personality is the parts of yourself that you show to people, but your character is who you are when you're tested.
Very good.
And I think mental toughness speaks really highly to someone's character.
Right.
So we're getting into it.
Yeah, because we've seen a few posts, and I hate the stage of my life where I kind of sound like just an old fart, the back in my day, and
I feel that way every time I scroll Facebook. I'm just like the eternal eye roll.
Yes.
And I'm like, one, there's nothing positive here. Two, it's for everyone to complain about everything that they don't like. And three, it's just like, this is my opinion. Don't challenge it because
Right.
I love my life of comfort and I'm really content here. And those just aren't my people.
Yeah.
I've come to realize, and I think that's why I get frustrated every time I scroll Facebook for 3 posts. And then I end up closing out of it and saying, I hate Facebook because they're just not my people.
But I think the big point to that is that those individuals that I believe lack mental toughness, they're not happy. Right? They're not a life that I look at and aspire to be. Man, I want to be that person.
Yeah.
And we see, people that we know and some people that we loosely know about, like, just talking about how just the idol of living in their comfort zone, basically. And anything that threatens their comfort zone is instantly demonized, right? So what does mental toughness mean to you when we bring up this topic?
For me, mental toughness is, it kind of goes back to distinguishing personality from character, to be honest. Because I could say I'm all these things, but at the end of the day, I have proven in my life that I have the character of mental toughness. I've been able to push through situations in my life and circumstances and all those things because I see more for myself. I see greater things from it. I don't want to live a life of complacency. And it's just who I am.
Yeah.
I don't know if that answers your question, but
No, it does answer the question. And I think it's the last statement that you just made. I think it's important. It's who I am. I think mental toughness is equivalent to me. It's equivalent to, do you really understand your true identity? And when something externally circumstantial comes and threatens your identity, is your identity still intact, right? A lot of times when it's not just like people are complaining about bad things that are happening to them, but that for some strange reason they allow that thing to alter their identity. And if it's really your identity, then nothing or no one can take that away from you.
yeah.
So I think when we see posts like that and people talk about pain or hurt, right? All things that hurt don't damage you. I want to say that again for the people in the back.
Yeah.
All things that hurt don't damage you. When I'm in the gym and I'm pushing myself to do that one more rep, it hurts, but it's not damaging me. It's building me up.
Yeah.
But somewhere down the line, I think when you don't have mental toughness, anything that's painful damages your identity.
Yeah.
And once you equate everything that hurts is damaging, then you live a life in your little bubble. You create the bubble, you create the wall, you create the comfort zone, and you refuse to step out of it.
Yeah.
That's how I would define mental toughness. It boils down to someone who's mentally tough knows who they are, regardless of the circumstances of the people around them.
I like that point of view because it reminds me of, like, sometimes people will say something that someone doesn't agree with. And, like, at what point is it like, all right, cool, we don't agree. And that's fine. Like, you're not a terrible person, like, da-da-da. But we've moved into the stage of society is that if you don't agree with me, you're against me. And that sort of attitude honestly makes me question that person. Like, do you know who you really are?
Right.
Because if you did, this would not be as detrimental as you're making it out to be. You would be open to the fact, like, yeah, sometimes people see things different ways, but I'm confident in my beliefs. I'm confident in whatever. And you know what? Even if it doesn't, maybe it helps me to see a different side of something, or maybe it helps me become even more firm in my beliefs.
Right.
But that's interesting that you say that.
Yeah. And I think that even that flows into people who are afraid of conflict.
Yeah.
Right. Or resist conflict.
Yeah.
It's because they lack that mental toughness, and they're not brave enough to get into that conflict because of what's going to happen to them.
Yeah.
It might hurt. Sparks will fly.
Yeah.
But as the sparks fly, we could either sharpen each other, or we could start a fire.
Yeah.
Right. But nonetheless, it's still, my identity shouldn't be like so damaged from that conflict.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah.
And I'll share on that note something personal. Like, when we were in San Francisco at dinner, we were having a conversation, and I was talking about just something that I was struggling with, and a conversation that I knew needed to happen with someone. And I was like, I don't like confrontation. Like, I don't know how to handle this. Da, da, da. And you have this knack of, like, just like using my words against me.
What?
And you said, do you remember what you said to
No, I
me?
don't remember.
You were like, what are those 5 things you write on your notebook every
Oh,
morning?
yeah, 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 yeah.
And
I
I was
remember.
like, shut up. And you're like, no, what are they? And I started listing them off. And it was the 5 things I tell myself every morning. If I actually listened to them, I would have this conversation with this person.
Hmm.
But because I was in my comfort zone, I didn't want to do that. And I was feeling like all these things. And I finally said them all off. And I'm like, shut up. I know I'm going to have the conversation. But I think when you surround yourself with people who don't challenge you,
Hmm.
it can be really easy to get stuck in that bubble and stuck in that place in life where everything's really comfortable to you,
Yeah,
but you're not growing.
right.
You're not growing.
No, no. I think an experience I had recently that really pushed my mental toughness is when it was last year where, there were a group of people that were saying some, I would say, harmful things about me, right?
Mm-hmm.
You remember what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
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 Saying some things and it wasn't accurate, but everything inside of me wanted to retaliate. Everything inside of me wanted to stand up for myself and speak on my behalf. Everything inside of me wanted to post it on social media, like everything. Just one, like I have to do something. Um, and a friend of ours just said, no, just sit back and trust God that He will validate you, that He will be, there's a verse in the Bible that says, "Vengeance is the Lord's," right,
Mm-hmm.
not ours.
Mm-hmm.
And so just sit back, and I couldn't say anything. I didn't do anything, and I just had to like just let it be. But that created such a mental toughness in me,
Mm.
because like I had to know who I was, despite what everyone else, not everyone, what those groups, that group of people were saying about me. I had to hold on to, is that true? It's not true. And people that are close to me know that's not true, and I have to just hold on to that.
Yeah.
But that was hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
Well, and it goes to show you because some people, I'm real tough. I'm real tough. You find out who's really tough not on the easy days. It's in
Mm-mm.
those times of trial, like how they react. Will more like you can tell in a trial when someone reacts versus someone who responds. You can see the toughness right in those two options.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's interesting.
How do you? So when you see me struggling in a moment that like requires mental toughness, how do you support me in that moment?
Usually not well.
That's not true.
I try to remind you of who you are. I mean, I feel like this all, it just, I feel like we're just going to keep on repeating the different things. But I think that's like, as your wife, I know who you are. I know your beliefs. I know your desires, your goals, all those things. So I have to remind you who you are
Yeah.
because in those hard times, like, and you do this for me too. There's times like I want to pop off and you're like, that's not you, boo.
Yeah.
That's not you. Like it might feel good in this moment, but I know who you are and that's not who you are.
Yeah.
So I think as your wife, just supporting you and reminding you of your identity, speaking that over you, is really helpful. And sometimes just saying, nope, shut up.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I think that's good. Reminding you of your identity, but you just said something that's also key. So, second to reminding you of your identity, reminding you of your beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like this is not what you believe. And
Yeah.
and what's the phrase you say? Your daily.
Your daily behaviors reflect your deepest beliefs.
That's right. Your daily behaviors is right. And so to hold you accountable,
Mm-hmm.
so remind you of who you are, and then when I see you, like you just testified to it when you didn't want to have that conversation. I reminded you not just of who you are, but what do you believe?
Mm-hmm.
You believe that you're built for hard things,
Mm-hmm.
right? You believe that you're equipped to do all these things. So I'm going to hold you accountable to your beliefs. And then I think that because when you surround yourself with people that just want to make you feel better,
Mm-hmm.
that's the problem. Everybody just wants to feel better.
Yeah.
No one wants to be better.
Yeah.
And you have to want to be better more than feel better.
Yeah.
And you surround yourself with Kit Kat people. And remember that commercial?
Explain this, Kit Kat
Kit Kat
people.
people, like, remember like the old commercial, give me a break,
Yeah,
give
yeah,
me a break,
yeah.
break me
Okay.
off a piece of that Kit Kat bar, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That people just want to constantly give you a break and relieve you of their stress, relieve you of your anxiety, relieve you of the pressure. But pressure makes a diamond, man. Like, and
Yeah.
so like everyone, if you surround yourself with just Kit Kat people that just want to give you a break and they just want to coddle you and buffer you, you are not going to grow. You're not going to be mentally tough. And when it comes down to the moments in your life that need you to rise up, right,
Mm-hmm.
and do something great,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to be willing to do that
Mm-mm.
because you didn't build yourself up for it.
Yeah.
Because you surrounded yourself by Kit Kat people.
Yeah.
You know, um,
Love that analogy.
you love it, the Kit Kat people. So what are some practical tips that we could give some people to establish mental toughness?
Well, I think it all originally starts with knowing who you are.
Yeah.
And don't feel bad if you're 43 years old and you're sitting there saying to yourself, I don't know who I am.
Yeah.
Because it's something I've been working on really intensely for like the past 9 years at this point, as long as I've known you. And I'm still not 100% sure who Jill is.
But you're becoming.
I'm becoming her. I'm finding things out about her. I'm working my way into the fullness of who Jillian Rosado truly is. And I'm okay. And you have to be okay with that.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you don't know who you are. You'll try on different things and then you'll start pretending to be someone that you're not because you don't know who you are and you're uncomfortable with that. But you have to learn to grow comfortable. If you want to talk about any sort of comfort, be comfortable with the unknown. A lot of people can't do that.
Be comfortable with the unknown.
So for me, you have to know who you are first, and your beliefs coincide with that. You have to know what you believe. You have to know what you stand for. Because those two things, I think, when it comes to the hard situations, it's so much easier to withstand, to proceed, to do all those things because you're like, I am this, I believe this, so this is how I act. Your actions follow your beliefs and your identity.
Yeah.
It's not the other way around.
Yeah.
Sometimes for me, because I have a comfort with the unknown and because I'm discovering who I am, I will sometimes take actions that I think the type of person that I want to be would take. So sometimes you can flip that, but you have to have some sort of understanding of where you want to go and what you want to be and how you want to behave before, you're not just like, I'm going to try this and see what happens. Like there has to be some sort of sustenance to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is that the right word?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think on top of everything you just said, I would add, practice constantly stepping outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Just constantly step outside of your comfort zone. Don't have such a high value of safety.
Yeah.
In your life.
Yeah.
Because when you do, you start valuing safety over growth.
Mm-hmm.
And so just practice doing things that are uncomfortable. Not like crazy uncomfortable, but like just practice it every now and then. Try to eat something that you haven't eaten before. Try to go somewhere where you don't know anyone. Try to do something that you're not used to. You know what I mean? Like step out of yourself every once in a while and make that a habit, your daily habit in doing that.
Again, I just want to repeat this again because it's so good. And I love when like something pops out at me in the morning and it's just like, damn, that's so good. In the words of Helen Keller, character cannot be developed in ease and quiet. Only through experience of trial and suffering can the soul be strengthened, because that's something I think everyone wants. Vision cleared.
Yep.
I think that's something everyone wants. Ambition inspired.
Yep.
And success achieved.
Yeah.
It's so good, man.
So good.
Ugh.
I would also add too, like,
Helen Keller knew some things.
she did. Find some people that you consider are mentally tough. Now, there's a difference between being mentally tough and a jerk or a a-hole.
Yeah.
Like, don't confuse that. Some people can be jerks and still not be mentally tough. Write that down.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But I'm talking about mentally tough people where, like, you just see that there's a toughness but a peace to them. That's important
Mm-hmm.
because like if there's a toughness and there's not a piece to them, then they're just a-holes,
Mm-hmm.
right? So is there a
If you
toughness?
hear them go, I don't care, I don't
Yeah,
care, they're not
that's
tough.
nonsense, right? So but find some mentally tough people and
It's ego. That's not toughness.
yes, but be around people who are mentally tough. If you
Yes.
don't think you're mentally tough, start hanging out with people that are
Yes.
mentally tough. I think
Yes.
that's a way to develop your mental toughness. See how they act,
And for me
study them.
personally, like, as I surround myself with more people like that, I've seen myself grow exponentially.
Right.
Exponentially.
Mm.
So,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, so find them. They're there. Hang out with them. Spend time with them. I'm not saying to completely sever your ties with people who, um, value safety, but again, step out and hang out with those mentally tough people.
I think it's important not to abandon those people because you know what happens? You become infectious.
Mm-hmm.
So as you grow, they see you doing things
Right.
and it catches on. So don't abandon. Obviously, there's going to be toxic people in your life that you're just like, you know what? I need to keep you at arm's length or I need to remove you entirely. But there's people that really value their comfort, but you can be the inspiration to them. They see, oh, she's been doing this and that's happening. She's been doing this and that's happening. She's been trying this and that's happening. I want that for myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if you're constantly surrounding yourself with people just like you, like completely content with the status quo, that's all you're going to end up being.
Yep. Yeah. So
And if that's what you want, kudos, but I don't buy it.
no, I don't buy it either. I would also say too, study the struggle. Like when I'm around people who are mentally tough, I ask them, hey, what did you do when you want to quit? What do you do when you want to quit? And I assume that everybody wants to quit
Yeah.
because anybody who's done anything great has hit several moments in their lives when
Oh
they
my
wanted
goodness,
to
I
quit.
want to quit like daily sometimes.
You know what I mean? So like study the struggle. Like pay attention to the people when they are struggling through things, especially mentally tough people, and see how they hold on to hope, see how they hold on to truth, see how they hold on to who they are and their beliefs and those kind of things. Study the struggle. Everybody wants to study success,
Yeah.
but you can't get to success unless you go through the struggle.
Yeah.
And so you always want to study the end results, but I want to study the struggle. That to me, that means I love hearing stories of how you started from the bottom
Yeah.
and you climbed.
Well, and that's, you spoke about this on Sunday, but you have, my Siri is going off. What? I am a hot mess. You talked about this on Sunday. Like, so often our boys will be watching YouTube or whatever, and they see these people that have these successful, glamorous lives, and they're like, yeah, I want to do that. Da, da, da. I'm like, but they're not showing you the behind the scenes. And I listened to a podcast. I think this was when we were in California. It was Ed Milet and Andy Frisella. And I know a lot of people don't like Andy Frisella, and he's not usually my cup of tea. There's a lot of things that he says that I don't completely agree with, but there's a lot of good stuff that he says too. And he was saying, like, I don't want to show you the glamorous side of my life. I want you to see the struggle. He goes, I have been through more issues than you can imagine. It has been 99% hardship and 1% joy. He's like, but if it wasn't for that 99% hardship, I wouldn't have that joy.
Yeah.
And him and Ed were even saying, like, I hate that these people are just showing the glamorous side because you're giving this false reality to these younger generations coming up thinking, well, I just have to put a video online and I'll be famous and have millions of dollars and cars and vacations and all this stuff. And they're like, and that's not accurate.
No, it's not.
So I love that question. Like, what did you do when you want to quit?
Yep.
Because the rise through like all the difficulties in life is so inspiring.
Yeah.
It's so inspiring to me.
It is. I think my last tip to developmental toughness is that you have to just let go of the victim card. And I think too many times people identify themselves with the events, especially the traumatic events in their lives, and they hold on to the victim card. And I said this before and I'll say it again. No one holds the victim responsible.
Yeah.
And without responsibility, you cannot grow.
Yeah.
And so as long as you hold that victim card, you're holding on to the limitations.
Yeah.
And the more I talk to older people, it's very rare. There are some, but it's very rare when older people talk about the things that they regret that they did. It's what they talk about more is the things that they regret that they didn't do.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
It's always the things that they didn't do.
Yeah.
And so as long as you hold that victim card, it'll limit you. It'll give you the excuse that you can't do this, you can't do that. But fast forward to the end of your life and ask yourself the question, is that the conversation you want to have with yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Man, I wish you would have done this.
Mm-hmm.
I wish you would have done that.
Mm-hmm.
And you could give all the excuses in the world, but looking back, you're going to say, because I gave up those moments because I wanted to hold on to my victim card.
Yeah.
And that's the part that's really sad for me. That when I listen and I lean into the wisdom of older people, it's never been, I regret doing X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
I regret that I didn't do X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
And that's up to you to develop that.
And this is something you say a lot that's like so true also. And I forget where this originated from, but it's like, I don't doubt that things have happened to you.
Yeah.
Things have happened to me. Things have happened to you.
For sure.
But like, your healing is your responsibility.
Yeah.
I see so many people, they're like because we're middle-aged now. Oh, Lord, we're middle-aged now. But like, if they're still blaming their parents for stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, at what point are you going to take responsibility for your life? You're in your 40s now.
Yeah.
You can't be laying around saying, well, my life is like this because my parents didn't do blah, blah, blah. Like, get over yourself.
Yeah.
Because then you're also perpetuating that through your children.
Yes.
Because your children see that. And then that generational, like, trauma continues on. And who's going to be the person that stops it and heals and takes responsibility? Yes, this happened to me, but like, I am blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to do whatever it takes to get to where I want to be, to live in the fullness of life, and then to show my family and my children and grandchildren that they can overcome.
Yep. Mental toughness.
Yeah. I
Love
need
it.
some mental toughness right now.
You do.
Are my eyes like all over the place?
Yeah. On that note, we're going to give her a break from
Yes,
her COVID break.
yes. Yeah,
Why
I
don't you
need a
wrap us
nap.
up, Jillian?
You wrap us up. I'm done. I
All
talked
right,
too
she's
much.
done. All
I
right.
talked way too much.
Well, hey, you know the deal. It helps us out a lot that if you are listening, maybe this is your first time listening, to subscribe to us, whether it be on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever you're listening to. Subscribe to us, like it, share it, follow us on Instagram, TikTok.
What are our handles?
Uh,
You're so bad at
mine
this.
is always Mike Rosado. Yours is Jillian Rosado, except on TikTok is Jillian_Rosado.
Yes.
And
He will never close another episode.
No,
Sorry,
no.
guys.
So
Until next time.
until next time.
Too real.
Too real.
Bye.
Peace.